Hello, everybody. So here we are back on the free to play today. Um, okay, good. I was just testing my audio there. Oh, that's right. I turned it down the other day. All right. Hopefully that's not too overpowering. All right, cool. So, um, there isn't as much stuff for me to talk about right now. I've pulled all the shards that I'm gonna pull right now. Um, we're pretty much on a standstill moving forward. I did, however, want to shout out a couple things. Number one, you guys have been subbing like crazy. It feels like yesterday that we hit 400 subs. We are already at 452 subs. We only need 48 more subs, and then we're at that 500 limit. That unlocks the membership portion of the account, and then I'll look into more heavily streaming on YouTube moving forward. So thank you guys so much for that. Like genuinely from the bottom of my heart, that means so much. I don't know what did it. I don't know if it was the shard pulling videos or just my content in general, but it's been a huge bump, and that has been. I mean, I'm just all day at work. I'm just getting emails. So and so subscribed. So and so subscribed. So that has been awesome, and I'm super grateful for that. Second of all, I pulled. So I've said this before. I'm gonna do everything I can to record when I pull champions. And I made a big video a few weeks ago. It's one of my most viewed videos where I pulled 111 shards, trying desperately to get. Or no, that wasn't the Harima one. I went all in for Harima later. Where's the one where I went all in for Harima? Oh, that was the first one. That was the first shard pull video. Then I pulled 111 shards um, during a 2x event, which went terribly. Um, yeah, but I've been doing a lot of shard pull videos. I'm not trying to overwhelm you guys with all the shard pull videos, but I feel bad if I'm not recording myself pulling shards because then you miss moments like what I pulled yesterday or this morning, actually. Sorry, it was this morning. It feels like yesterday. It's been a long day, but this morning I jumped on really early before I got ready for work and everything, and just did a quick shard opening video because we're in a 2x event for primal shards, and I hit. If you don't want spoilers, because I'm gonna say who it was. But if you, and by the way, this is on the main account. Sorry, let me. This is on the main account. On the free to play, we're still only two legendaries. Um, but on the main account, if you don't want spoilers, I recommend changing now. But on the main account, I pulled Harima, who just a few videos ago I went all in for and didn't get, and now here we are getting her. And the reason I pulled, I explained it in the video, but the reason I pulled was for the summon rush that's going on right now. I got to this point and I was like, okay, well, let me just go ahead and go for these, and that's when I hit gold. So and I got an XP barrel along the way, which I used. So she's already 60. I haven't ascended her yet. I should. This is the right time to do it during the champion training tournament because I gained points for it. But I already hit the snow points, and I don't think ascending her is going to take me up to here. So, but anyways, obviously that's on the main account. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more main account stuff. I don't talk about or do a lot on my main account anymore. Um, but I'm happy to. I've been coming up with some ideas for stuff I want to do on the main account. Obviously, I could just do it, but I don't want to put too many videos out there because then you guys can't keep up with the content. Um, and I also uh, don't want to alienate my viewers that are free to play. You know, I don't want you guys to think that I'm um, trying to tell you to spend money or anything. You know, I do like the idea of saying like, hey, this game is fun and it's still fun even if you don't spend money, and that's kind of the point of this account right here. Now, the biggest question that I've been getting lately, I've got a couple of them. I am planning probably on Monday, because I have the day off, I'll record a question block and answer some of these questions. Maybe even answer this one as well in the question block where I can go into more depth and more detail on my answer. But one of the biggest questions that I've been getting is kind of like, is there ever a case where, or how does a free to play player go for these events? Now, I recently kind of did a breakdown. What was it, last night that I talked about? Yeah, it was last night. We had a few hours left in, I think it was a Dungeon Divers. And I was like, if I go do this much dragon, I will get to the end of the Dungeon Divers, the complete end, because I wanted to get another crack at the summoning portal. I could have, like, 20, maybe it was 30. I don't remember how many prism shards it was, but um I had said like, okay, well, I'm gonna go pull. I'm gonna go. I thought about doing that event, whatever event it was. I think it was a Dungeon Divers. We calculated the energy that it would take, and it was very steep to get all the way to the end. Was very steep. So first, let's look at usually the fragments that you need to get. Let's look at the tournament right now, the dragon tournament. So usually the points that you need to get for the stuff specifically related to the fusion, you don't always need to go completely to the end. So it's a little bit more reasonable. But the big question is like, well, how do I save up enough energy? Even with all the energy potions that I say, not me, but the person asking questions that they've saved up, they still wouldn't have enough. They would have enough energy to complete one event, not two. Well, first of all, the Dungeon Divers events have become incredibly challenging. I want to say ever since kind of the Emic fusion, it feels like they've been a lot harder, almost unachievable in some cases, for a free to play. So the question becomes, well, how can you do them? Well, the answer is gems. So if I wasn't a crazy person the last 3 weeks, I would have a lot more gems. I have been buying shard packs like crazy. If you're being conservative with your gems, this is where the efficiency portion of the game comes in. You know, we talk a lot about, or I talk a lot about doing Minotaur versus spending 800 gems on masteries. Now, for me, and this is just for me, I prefer to buy the masteries with the gems. That is a decision I make. However, it is inefficient. To, on average, farm your mastery scrolls from Minotaur, on average, if you just spent gems, you would spend like 600 and something, I think. Don't quote me on that. I just remember it being in the 600s when I watched a video on it a couple. It's been a couple weeks, if not a month. But basically, the concept is you do save gems that way. because 600 is less than 800. So if all you did was, if you went in there with 0 energy and just refilled every time until your champion was fully mastered, you would spend about 600 gems. So if you do play an efficient style like that, you'll theoretically have more gems saved up. In that scenario, you then use those gems to get refills during these events in order to spend that energy and move on. It's also a great time to spend if there's ever a situation where you get like a flat amount of energy. Sometimes there are things, I think it would probably be, I guess, maybe promo codes and stuff like that where they give you like a flat 1500 or something like that. Also keep in mind that you do tend to get energy as you go in these events, which is a little redundant because you're spending energy to complete them. I'm trying to see if I can find a reasonable example. It's not usually in the tournaments, I suppose. But you'll see here, like the Tag Arena tournament, here's a little bit of extra energy. Not to mention if you're doing your quests and advanced quests and you're getting and using that energy. Is there energy in the Summon Rush? Yeah, so you'll see 100 energy here. So that's 300 energy that you could then put towards the Dungeon Divers if you were doing this event. I also pointed out in my last video that you don't have to do the Summon Rushes either, which helps you save your shards, but forces you to complete Dungeon Divers and other things as well. So a lot of it does have to do with gems. Really, that is the best resource that you're going to have. Other factors that come into play when you're looking for energy during these events, the clan shop. Now it's chickens here this week, but this does change, I should say. It's not always going to be just chickens. It can be energy, I believe. So you would want to capitalize on that and build up your energy. Likewise, if you're desperate for energy and you have a surplus, I do not, because I spent in the bazaar, you can spend 1,000 gold bars for 300 energy. This is not a good value. However, if you need 300 energy, it's an option. And quite frankly, you do get to a point, if you're progressing consistently in Tag Team Arena, you do get to a point where even though you're spending every single day on the fragments for Drexstar, you do get to a point where you're going to start having saved up more than what it costs to buy Drexstar fragments every day. So if you think about it, I spent on an ancient shard in this area, and yet you can see I still have fragments and enough for the next fragments. So and then reset would be on Sunday night. So if you're doing your Tag Team Arena, I don't use my refills for Tag Team Arena either. It just takes way too much time. But if you are playing only one account and you're, going at it, then you can spend those refills that you get every day. I think it's a advanced quest. From doing Faction Wars, you get that refill for Tag Team Arena. So if you're using 10 times 3, so 60 Tag Team Arena fights or whatever, however you want to say it. If you're doing your Tag Team Arena, you will generate quite a few gold bars, even in the lower levels. I'm only bronze 2. I'm not anything special down here. And you can start getting the benefit of these resources down here, as well as getting your champion fragments. So that's how you kind of manage the energy requirement. The other big headache is the silver requirement. When we're talking silver, Obviously, if you're farming 12-3 Brutal consistently, you should be generating a lot of silver. But likewise, you probably have in your inventory, you may have a couple of flat stat items that you don't know you have that you should probably get rid of. Like me. I don't know how some of these made it through the cracks, but they did. So we get rid of that stuff. That's 300,000 silver right there. Then the next thing that you would want to do is take a look at rank and rarity and see what kind of, like, I noticed these before. That's why I clicked it. But look, a lot of these are ones that for whatever reason I didn't sell after running a farming on 12-3 Brutal. And so you'll see that's 300,000 again right there. Not to mention all the other ones. Now, like these ones can go, they're only 3-star. Now, this is something I wanted to discuss in a future video about 4-star gear. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm pretty sure I want to cleanse all the 4-star gear on my account. One second, my allergies. As usual, choosing to pop up at the worst times. Okay. That's 1,000,007 silver. I'm not going to pull the trigger on this just yet, but if I were to, it'll be 1,000,000 silver, or 1,000,000.7 silver. So I'm getting to that point. I don't think I'm quite there yet, because there may come a situation where I want to complete a set, and I may need a 4-star piece in order to do that. So, yeah. The other big thing is kind of saving your brews. So unfortunately, I have been, actually, I have a pretty good amount of brews saved up. A lot of this comes from Clan Boss, believe it or not. This is a good amount of brews saved up. Like anywhere in the 100, 150, 200, you're going to be able to get through the champion training events in those situations. You'll be able to throw brews into your food, like I've shown you guys before, and make it. The there was one other thing that we were talking about brews, and then I realized there was something else I wanted to say, and then I lost it. But yeah, brews will be a big part. Now this is a hybrid fusion. So there's 3 fusions now. There's a traditional fragment summon where you just collect the number of fragments, like for Timid, and you put all those fragments into the champ. You collect them until you get 100. If you get 100, you get the champion, right? Then there's the traditional fusion. I have a feeling we are going to see less and less traditional fusions. Unfortunately, the hero pool is becoming so heavily saturated. I just can't imagine them introducing more rares right now. But this is a traditional fusion, and what that means is that you would go about collecting all these rares and then fusing them up into the epics, and then fusing those epics into the legendary. That is what I would refer to as a traditional fusion. Now, Blizzard is a hybrid. So instead of farming rares, you farm fragments to create or to summon the epics, and then you level up and ascend the epics, and then that gets you the legendary. And so it's kind of a little bit easier, because you don't have to level up all those rares and ascend them. Because normally you would have to take the rare to a 4-star from a 3-star and then ascend it as well. And that can be very hefty cost into your ascension potions. Here you just collect fragments. But so it's a bit of a hybrid, this one, which is kind of cool. But that's another factor when you're talking fusions. A traditional fusion is quite hard because having those ascension potions, like for me, I'm pretty light on the spirit ones, so I would struggle to fuse the or to ascend all those epics if I were to go for them. And I would have to therefore farm, spend some of my energy going into it in the Spirit Keep, which doesn't open until Monday, which can, slow down some of my progress in the fusion if I was to go for it. Ultimately, the question is like, how? Let me look up this comment real quick just to make sure I'm addressing everything that they asked. I'm finding like I cannot afford them ever. Like, even if my dungeons were at level 20 plus, I would not have the energy to do it. So it may seem like you don't have the energy to do it, and likely you don't. That's why I'm mentioning gems as a big resource in this. Also, you need to keep in mind the energy that you're refreshing as you go along. You also, like, on a regular basis. I mean, the energy repopulates one energy every couple minutes. I'd look it up. Somebody will correct me in the comments, but I know that I want to say like 2 minutes you get one energy, which sounds like a long time, but it ends up being pretty quick. It's quite often where I will sit on 0 energy, go play another game, come back, and have 50 some energy to play around with. Also, your daily resets. Doing Classic Arena gets you a refill. When your weeklies pop, which pop quite often, you get several refills. Monthly, you're getting flat energy, and then of course making sure that you're doing your quests here that you can do. You're not always gonna be able to do them. Is going to get you that extra bit of energy as well, and then you get energy as you go along. Plus, we already mentioned you can get energy in the clan shop and energy from the bazaar. There are ways to get energy that it may seem like a daunting task, and it is if you only look at it in a singular point of view. If you say the only energy I have on my account is what's in this bar right here and all of these potions, if that's your thought process, then yeah, no, it's an impossible task. But you need to remember, you're not going all the way to the end of the dungeon divers. You're only going to the specific point, and you also have several days to do it. And you're doing it in targeted dungeons. So theoretically, you're at level 20 in all these dungeons. For example, if you did have a level 20 Dragon's Lair, Spider's Den, Fire Knights, and Ice Golem, you're getting about 1 point per energy. So it depends on what their. I said about. There's variances there, but yeah, it all depends on what the expectations are, and they will tell you like, oh yeah, you need this many points, and you can do that math ahead of time. But if you're on top of things, you do have to play the game a lot more. If you're somebody that plays for 3 hours a night, you just need to save up a lot of resources before going for a fusion. I would expect that I would say probably within the next 1 or 2 fusions, there's going to be one that everyone's going to want. I don't think Blizzard is it. He's not it for me. That doesn't mean he's not it for everybody, but he's very niche, and just how early my account is, it's not worth the stress and pressure of going for him on this account. On the main account, I don't really know where I'm going to use him. I think he's probably really going to be good for the Cursed City, but I just don't have during the holidays, I don't have the time or the mental capacity to do 2 fusions at the same time. And the Tormund one got me a lot more cool resources along the way. Primal shards, sacred shards, void shards, books, all that. So that's ultimately why I chose the Tormund fusion. And I knew what he could do. We didn't know anything about Blizzard until halfway through the tournament fusion. So, okay, I hope that kind of gives an understanding that it seems like a daunting task, and it can be, and that's the risk that you run. But ultimately, if you are on top of it and you're playing the game actively and you're not doing anything else, now obviously you also need energy to level champions and stuff, but it seems quite daunting. But remember that you're double dipping as well, right? So if we look at the event, I know I'm talking really long about this, but it's important because I don't want you guys to feel as defeated about this. Um, oops. So let's say that we were going for this fusion. All right, Dungeon Divers event 1 starts tomorrow. So tomorrow I would do Dragon. Well, guess what? We knew the fusion was coming up, and I could save all my energy Thursday and Friday and dump it into Dragon Tournament on Saturday. Once I've done enough of the Dragon Tournament to max out the resources on Dragon Tournament, then I start doing champion training. And I start farming 12-3 Brutal, leveling up food, or champions that I want to level up. And all of this is taking place during Dungeon Divers 1. I basically would use any leftover energy from Dragon doing champion training. I might not finish champion training yet. This is important. Then comes Sunday when Ice Golem tournament starts. So then I would make sure to go and use, because you want to do it simultaneously. Well, honestly, it might be better off, because of how long this event is, it would be better off to finish the champion training. So finish off champion training, and then say Monday or Tuesday. Well, now you're looking at a weekly reset. That's about 500 energy or so on top of any energy that you've been saving up or spending as you go. Gems, you've been accumulating gems every day. So now you've got enough energy so you can do the Ice Golem tournament, and that completes your Dungeon Divers 1. Hopefully you don't have to do any extra runs, right? So then you get a little bit of a break. Dungeon Divers 2 doesn't start until Friday, so you would wait until Friday to do Fire Night. You would do your Fire Night while doing Dungeon Divers 2, also keeping in mind that all these other events along the way, Classic Arena probably gives you a little bit of energy. Artifact Enhancement event might give you energy. Might get energy here too. Champion Training event here. So this is where you're probably going to do Champion Training event, all of it starting on that Friday. So you're double dipping. So you would do as much Fire Night as you could do on that Friday, and you would do as much Champion Training as you could on that Friday. So it's all going into the Dungeon Divers 2. And then with Spider, you would want to double up and do it with the Dungeon Divers. So we are getting close on time, but so there are ways, if you're doubling up your resources, and you might be getting energy from these events along the way. Is it as much as you're putting into the event? No, but it is a little bit of a reimbursement that can then help you move forward with the event. So it does seem challenging, and in the past, the Dungeon Divers events in the past few summons or fusions have been overly demanding, to the point where it really makes me not want to do fusions anymore, because Dungeon Divers suck. And they didn't always used to be that way. It used to be very achievable that you could complete your Dungeon Divers events. Now it feels like a much too great of a challenge. And I don't know if that's to encourage us to buy more energy or buy more gems, or what the thought process is there, but it is scary as a free-to-play player, because the worst thing that can happen as a free-to-play player is to get, right to the end of that Dungeon Divers event, and you're like almost there on the fragments, right? Like you're like, this bar is like to here, and you're out of energy, and you look up and you're like, oh man, I only have 2 hours and I'm out of energy, and it's like, I'm not gonna be able to do this, right? That sucks. So it's a scary proposition, and that's why I'm not going for them, because I'm scared. I don't want to waste all my resources. It's also too late at this point, I feel like. But so, anyways, I hope that answers that particular question. That was a bit of a preview into what you can expect from a question block episode. And that individual comment had 3 whole questions in it, which I love, by the way. They also ask about missions reaching a holding spot. And when do you stop clan boss focus? And then question number 3 is, when should they ditch their clan? So 2 very interesting questions that I'll be recording answers to on Monday, maybe Sunday night. I'm just working all weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. So very interesting questions. That's a little sneak peek to the next episode of Question Block coming up. And that will be where I kind of answer questions from you guys. If you have any questions that you also want to include in future Question Block episodes, feel free to put them in the comments now. I have access to all the comments just on a long list here. And I will go about and try and answer all of those questions for you guys. Also, one of the biggest questions that I've been getting is about when will spots open up in my clan. I think I talked about this in my last video, but just in case I didn't, expect spots to open up in January. I may have to delay my kind of culling of the clan, but I've basically set new limits for my clan members, and if they're basically saying like you need to hit these certain goals, one of them being you need to be in Discord, the other being you need to be Gold 1 Arena. Well, Silver 1 Arena for now, but eventually Gold 1. So for a lot of the players that are not in those, they've been working towards it, but some of them will not achieve that point. Some of them haven't joined Discord. Those people will be getting kicked out of the clan, unfortunately. And those spots will be opening up for people that are in those areas and want to participate in our Discord. So though I'm giving people a whole month to get their accounts in order, so those spots will be opening up come January. So, well, we're over time. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all the support again, and I'll see you in the next video.